Hello, my little explorers. Come, today I will take you back into our past, in the history. Yes, today I will talk about some of our great leaders and freedom fighters. You know that 15th August 1947 is celebrated as Indian Independence Day. India was ruled by the British Empire or England from 1757 to 1947. That's nearly about 200 years. And our freedom came to us not very easily. Lot of leaders, they sacrificed their lives to win freedom for India. And today I want to talk to you about few of our great leaders. Let's start. So there were many great leaders that were part of India's freedom struggle. Their valuable contribution was instrumental in obtaining freedom for our country. Let's read about their lives and contribution. Let me tell you in the very beginning that in this video we will be talking about very few leaders. We will be talking about just some of the leaders, but there were many other great leaders that were part of the Indian freedom struggle. I request all my little explorers to ask your parents or your teachers, or you can even Google up India's freedom struggle and try to find out more about the leaders which are not mentioned here. Let's start with Rani Lakshmibai. Now, Rani Lakshmibhai of Jhansi was born on 19 November 1835 at Kashi. It is called Varanasi today, to Moropant and Bhagirathi Bai. So, her father's name was Moropant and her mother's name was Bhagirathi Bai. She was named Manikarnika. She was married at a very young age because in India earlier people there was a thing called child marriages where people used to get married at a very young age, and she was married to a king called Gangadhar Rao. He was the Maharaja of Jhansi. Jhansi is a city in Uttar Pradesh in 1842. She became the Rani of Jhansi and was given the name Lakshmi Bai. Now, how did she become the queen or the Maharani of Jhansi? Let's find out about that also. So, her husband Gangadhar Rao did not have a natural heir. So, they didn't have any natural heir. So, they adopted a son called Damodar Rao. Now, there was a very unfair rule in British India that was called the Doctrine of Lax. Let me tell you about this rule first. So, what was the Doctrine of Lax that was there? This Doctrine of Lax stated that a kingdom could be annexed. That means the British Empire or England can take over a kingdom, that can snatch a kingdom from the Indian ruler if the king died without a male heir. If the king did not have any male son or a male heir, then the British Empire will snatch over that kingdom. There were many kingdoms that were unfairly snatched away like this, which was Satara, Sambalpur, Udaipur, Nagpur, Jhansi, and Awadh. So, what happened? Let's now talk about how Rani Lakshmibai became the queen. So, Gangadhar Rao unfortunately died at a very young age. And since Damodar was too young to rule, Lakshmibai took over the reins. But what Lord Dalhousie did, he said that according to the doctrine of lapse, Damodar Rao was not the legal heir to the throne. Why? Because he was not the natural son of Lakshmi Bai and Gangadhar Rao. He was an adopted son. So, Lord Dalhousie, the Governor General of India at that time, decided to annex the state of Jhansi and expand the British Empire. So, he tried to snatch away Jhansi from Rani Lakshmi Bai. Now, Lakshmi Bai, she was determined not to give up Jhansi. In fact, she said a quote that was like, Meri Jhansi nahi dungi, Meri Jhansi nahi dungi, Meri Jhansi nahi dungi. Hence, when the British attacked Jhansi in March 1858, Rani Lakshmi Bai, with her faithful warriors, continued to fight for about 2 weeks. She fought very strongly, very valiantly, and very bravely. She became a symbol of patriotism and self-respect. She was also joined by Tatya Top and Nana Sahib Peshwa, but finally, unfortunately, Jhansi fell to the British forces because they had advanced weapons, they had guns, they have cannons, and Rani Lakshmi Bai of Jhansi unfortunately lost her life on 18th June 1858. But she fought very bravely, and till this day, people remember her. They say things like, "Khoob ladi mardani, wo to Jhansi wali Rani thi." Khoob ladi mardani, wo to Jhansi wali Rani thi. That's a beautiful sentiment for our Rani Lakshmi Bai. Do you know that Rani Lakshmi Bai of Jhansi became a symbol of courage for the people of India? She fought so fiercely that British had offered a reward of 20,000 rupees for her capture. 20,000 rupees in 1858 must be lakhs and crores in today. So she was so strong and she was so brave that Britishers were scared of her. Now, let's talk about our second freedom fighter, that is Bal Gangadhar Tilak. Now, Bal Gangadhar Tilak was very famous and he was in fact part of a trio of leaders that were working at the same time. They were Bal, Pal and Lal. So I'll talk about Bal, Pal and Lal, but let me first begin by Bal Gangadhar Tilak. Bal Gangadhar Tilak ji was born on 23rd July 1856 in Ratnagiri, Maharashtra. He was later known as Lokmanya Tilak because Lokmanya means who was believed and who was loved and who was preferred by people. He worked in close contact with the masses. He started akhadas. What are akhadas? Akhadas are nothing but gyms or local exercise houses where all the youth, they come together and they work out, they do their exercises, they work out, they do wrestling, they do physical activities so that they can build up their bodies and they can work on their health. So he started akhadas, lathi clubs and anti-cow killing societies. He wanted to protect the cows, so he started anti-cow killing societies. Tilak was against Western education because he felt that it did not respect Indian heritage and culture. So he wanted people to accept and respect Indian heritage and culture. So that's the reason he was against Western education. To spread his views among the people, he started two newspapers. Those newspapers were the Maratha and the Kesari. He demanded that the British immediately give Indians the right to self-government. So he came up with a word called Swaraj. Swaraj is a Hindi word which comes from Swa. Swa means I myself. Raj. That means I myself should be the ruler of my own life, my own destiny. So what Mr. Tilak said that Indians should be allowed to rule ourselves. We should not be slaves of British government. So Tilak joined INC. INC stands for Indian National Congress in the 1890s along with Pal, Bipin Chandra Pal and Lala Lajpat Rai. So I told you that there were three people who were working together, Bal, Pal and Lal. So Bal was Bal Gangadhar Tilak, Pal was Bipin Chandra Pal and Lal was Lala Lajpat Rai. He led the extremist faction of the INC and believed that the British would never give India its freedom struggle through peaceful means. He became famous as the father of the Indian unrest as he urged the people to fight for their rights. So what he told people, he said that we have got to fight for our rights, we have got to take action against the Britishers. So he told people to come out and revolt against the British Empire. He gave a very famous quote which was, Swaraj is my birthright and I shall have it. That means nobody will rule me. I will not be anybody's slave. Swaraj is my birthright and I will have it by hook or by crook. Tilak was the first leader who openly demanded self-governance. So, like I told you, he was the first person who openly demanded Swaraj. Tilak founded the All India Home Rule League at Pune. Now we call it Pune in 1916. This inspired nationwide patriotism. He died in 1920. Next, I want to talk to you about Vallabhbhai Patel, or as we famously call him, Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel. Vallabhbhai Patel was born on 31st October 1875 in Nadiad, that is a city in Gujarat. His father, Zaveri Bhai, was in the army of Rani Lakshmibhai of Jhansi. So his father, he used to fight along with Rani Lakshmibhai of Jhansi. Sardar Patel completed his high school education at Petlat and in 1910 went to England to study law. So he went to England to study law. He returned to India 3 years later and started practicing at Ahmedabad. So whenever a lawyer, he does his profession of law, it is called practicing. So he started practicing law at Ahmedabad. Eventually, he gave up his practice to participate in the freedom struggle. So he left law because he wanted to serve India. Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, as he was later known, was deeply influenced by Gandhiji. He used to love Gandhiji, used to follow Gandhiji, and he used to respect Gandhiji a lot. In 1917, when Gandhiji was elected president of the Gujarat Sabha, Vallabhbhai was elected the secretary. In 1930, Patel participated in the Salt March. So if you remember, Gandhiji had done a Namak Satyagrah or Salt March where he walked from Sabarmati Ashram in Ahmedabad to Dandi to protest against the unfair salt law that was imposed by the British Empire. So he walked along with Gandhiji. He delivered inspirational speeches encouraging people to join the Satyagraha. In 1942, he joined the Quit India movement, and in 1947, Patel became the Deputy Prime Minister of Independent India. So he was the first Deputy Prime Minister of Independent India. Who was the first Prime Minister? I'm sure you all know. Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru ji was the first Prime Minister of India and played an important role in the unification of India by integrating several princely states. Now, what happened when India got independent? At that time, there were small kingdoms and small princely states that were confused whether they should stay with India or they should have their own kingdom. So, Sardar Patel, he played a very big role in uniting India. He personally went to all these princely states and convinced them to join the Indian Empire. That is the reason he is known as somebody who united India. And even today, there is a very big statue. In fact, the biggest statue in the world. Let me show you. Biggest statue in the world called Statue of Unity. Because, see, this is, let me show this to you. This is the world's tallest statue. This is made in the honor of Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel. This is in Gujarat. Okay, it is it is located in Gujarat, and this statue is called the Statue of Unity. Like you have a Statue of Liberty in America, we have our own Statue of Unity. So this is called Statue of Unity because Sardar Patel, he managed to unite the entire India and he protected India from getting separated. So that's the reason he has played a very important role in unification of India. And even today, we celebrate his birth anniversary as Ekta Divas or Unity Day. He founded the IAS, Indian Administrative Service, Indian Police Service, and other central services. He was often known as the Iron Man of India. So, you all must have heard about Marvel's Iron Man, but for us Indians, the first and the most strongest Iron Man is Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel. He died in 1950. Next leader that I want to talk to you about is Sarojini Naidu ji. Sarojini Naidu was born on 13 February 1879 in Hyderabad to Aghornath Chattopadhyay and Varada Sundari Devi. Her father, a linguist. Linguist means somebody who has an interest in languages. So her father was a linguist, a scientist, and a philosopher. He was a very nice, educated, intelligent person. And he founded the Nizam College in Hyderabad. Her mother was a poet. So Sarojini Naidu studied at King's College London and later at Girton College in Cambridge. She married Dr. Govindarajulu Naidu. Sarojini Naidu was one of the most prominent leaders of the Congress and worked very closely with Gandhiji during India's freedom struggle. She was determined to bring about Hindu-Muslim unity and hence tried to unite the INC and Muslim League. She was arrested in 1930 and in 1942 after independence, she was appointed the governor of United Provinces, now Uttar Pradesh. So Uttar Pradesh was originally called United Provinces and after independence, she was immediately appointed as the governor of UP. Sarojini Naidu was a poet and she spoke many languages. Some of her important works or her important poems are The Golden Threshold, The Bird of Time, The Broken Wing, The Feather of Dawn, The Feast of Youth, and The Magic Tree. She was a beautiful poet and I request all my little explorers to Google these poems and read them. I'm sure you will enjoy them a lot. Do you know that she was called Nightingale of India, Bharat Kokila? So, Sarojini Naidu's birthday, 13th February, is celebrated in India as National Women's Day. So, International Women's Day is celebrated on 8th March, but the India's National Women's Day is celebrated on 13th February because we want to remember Sarojini Naidu. Next, I want to talk to you about Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose. Subhash Chandra Bose was born on 23rd January 1897 to an affluent Bengali family in Cuttack. So affluent means rich or well-to-do family in Cuttack, Odisha. He was a brilliant student who studied at Ravenshaw Collegiate School and graduated from Scottish Church College, Kolkata. So he was very well educated, he was very articulate, and he was strongly influenced by Swami Vivekananda's teachings, but was also known for his patriotic enthusiasm. So he was very patriotic, he wanted to serve India and he wanted to do something for our country. Although he had no intention of serving the British, he went to England to appear for the Indian Civil Service examination only to please his father. He later resigned and joined the nationalist movement. So what was nationalist movement doing? It was trying to win freedom for India. Also known as Netaji, Subhash Chandra Bose was a fierce freedom fighter. He was elected the president of Indian National Congress in 1938 and 1939. He founded the Indian National Army, which is also known as Azad Hind Fauj, to overthrow the British Empire in India. For his anti-British remarks and activities, Bose was jailed 11 times between 1920 and 1941. At that time, a lot of freedom fighters, because we were fighting against British to win our freedom, and British were unfairly ruling us. So what they used to do is that they used to put our freedom fighters in jail. Now today you put criminals in jail, but our freedom fighters were not criminals. Some British rulers, they used to unfairly put our freedom fighters in jail. Even Gandhiji went to jail, Nehru went to jail, Sardar Patel went to jail. So all these freedom fighters, they were unfairly put in jail. So Netaji was also jailed 11 times. He had mastered the art of disguise. That means he used to change his disguise, he used to change his appearance, he was very good at makeup and dressing up and pretending to be somebody else. And on many occasions, he managed to escape from the hands of British, because British was always trying to catch Netaji. So Netaji, he was very clever and he would disguise himself and escape the British rulers. His most famous words were, "Give me blood and I shall give you freedom." He said this in Hindi. He said, "तुम मुझे खून दो, मैं तुम्हें आजादी दूंगा." So what this means is that he told the youth, he told the people of India to come and fight with him, so that they all can sacrifice their lives to win the freedom from India, because from British rule, because we needed to fight the British, and for that he needed volunteers. So that's why he said, "तुम मुझे खून दो, मैं तुम्हें आजादी दूंगा." Give me blood and I shall give you freedom. He urged the people of India to join him in the fight against the British rule. It is not clear how Netaji died, because there are a lot of controversies and there are a lot of conspiracy theories going on around his death. But most famously, it is believed that Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose died in a plane crash over Taiwan while flying to Tokyo in 1945. But his remains, his dead body, was never found. And some people believe that Netaji did not die in that crash, and in fact he escaped the British Empire and continued to fight secretly to help us gain our freedom in 1947. So with this, my little explorers, I've told you about few of these great leaders. Again, I'm telling you, there are many other famous leaders that you should learn about. Like few of them that come to my mind are Shahid Bhagat Singh ji, then Chandrasekhar Azad, Mahatma Gandhi, Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, and many other leaders that you can read about, that you can know about. And this will definitely help you to get an idea about our India's freedom struggle, our history, and how we got our freedom. Do ask your parents, do ask your teachers, or simply you all have your tablets, you have your laptops. So Google about India's freedom struggle, and I'm sure you will learn a lot about our country and how we became independent. Right? I hope you enjoyed learning with Araadhi. Do drop me any comment if you want to know about something. If you have any questions, do drop them in the comment box. Like our video if you really liked it, and subscribe. That really helps us a lot. Thank you. Keep learning with Araadhi, guys. Bye bye.